So last time we looked at some different shapes and some different letters. A little task for us this time is to sketch our initials. So that's going to involve multiple shapes, I suppose, within an isometric cuboid. Now, my initials are M. We spoke about letters and how we can make them 3D. Potentially, we want to make these oblique to help us. So I could make my R like this. I'm going to do it as a really basic R, just to try and help us. Like so, I can make this oblique R back in that direction to try and allow myself to visualize what the R is going to look like. And I could do the same because I've got two letters that are the same. That's going to be quite easy. I'll do a different type of R just to show you some different methods. It's got a small curve on it. And then the M, let's go for this sort of an M. Okay, so I've just really like hashed that out very, very quickly. You can see how having some oblique style sketching can help me to kind of visualize what's going on in 3D. So what we need to do is we need to think about those three letters next to each other. Now, when I say those three letters next to each other, what is actually happening is we are extending our cuboid all the way out to the right. So our front arrow, we've got to think about scale here, is going to start in this position and it's going to go out in this direction quite a long way because we're going to have three letters attached to it. We're not going to make them super thick. We're going to keep it relatively narrow, like so. And you can see why being able to sketch isometric cubes and cuboids well is going to be really, really helpful to you. So there's our cuboid. Let's do the same at the back. So we've got a back face to kind of work towards. Now you can see it's a little bit thick up here, looks a little bit strange, so we may have some problems later on, but hopefully it will make sense. So we now need to get these RRM into this box, okay? And we're going to make these letters roughly thirds. This M is probably going to be slightly wider because of how it's constructed. How can we do that? There's a couple of different ways. We could draw a cross on the front, draw the halfway line, draw a cross between those, draw a quarter of the way line, then we could work out where the thirds are from there. But today we're just going to do it by eye. Okay, so if halfway is there, we're going to imagine that a third is probably about there, another third is probably about there, and then a bit wider for the M is probably going to be pretty good. Okay, so ignore that one, we're going for this one here. And then we're going to fit the R into this first part. So I'm going to just do this super light, and there we can see we have now basically hashed out. Make sure these are parallel, so move your paper rather than trying to cheat like I'm doing. Okay, and we can do this back part, like so, this back part, like so. Okay, and now we're in a pretty good place. So from there, how are we going to do this? Well, let's start from the base and build up. So the two R's, they've got this kind of section here, like so. So I'm going to draw those darker bits. We'll start with this first R. And this goes all the way up. So this line here is all the way vertical, like this. We're happy with that. And then it goes all the way along the top of it. So we're going to go all the way along the top, and it's quite square. Probably goes down about halfway, the way I've drawn it on my shape. And then it comes in, so it cuts in, and we're going parallel, remember, to this line and this line. And then we've got this angle that goes from here to here. So that's the first angle we have seen. From this point to this point, nice and easy. We're just going to draw a straight line because we have got our constructions set out for us. This one goes vertically up to a certain distance. So let's say it goes vertically up. We're going to pick our distance to about there. And this line, we could say, is roughly parallel, like so. Looks about right compared to what I drew up here. On this bit, we're just going to make this a square, and we're going to make sure that those all fit in. Again, remember, parallel, 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 and these are vertical. Then we just tidy up the back. So we go here, and then we draw vertically up and across. And then we have got this part, super simple. What's missing? A couple of different lines. So because I drew this going in the opposite direction, we need to think about this line here is going back in that direction, like so. And then we've got these lines here that also go back in that direction. In terms of where that meets, It's kind of hard to tell if we look at the distance. So that is about, it's less than there, so we won't actually see that line just like so. So there's the first arc. This arc's got a bit of a curve on it, okay? Exactly the same thing, we've got no spacing between them, just because of the way I've drawn it. So we're going to draw along, and then our curve probably starts about there, and it's going to come down to about this point. How did I get that point? Vertically down, roughly in my head, and across at the same height, and then I can just do a curve like so. We will get into how to do curves properly at another stage, but there's our first one. Vertically up here, nice and easy, and then the same at the bottom. We've got this bit that goes along, we've got this bit that goes along here. This bit goes vertical, roughly up to the same point, which is about there, and goes at that angle. And then this one, it goes straight into our angle there. So maybe we want to go a bit further along so that this angle is similar, like that. And then we can just add this in, vertical, horizontal, horizontal with a little curve. Again, I'll show you how to do them properly at another stage. And then we just finish this off by going across, make sure that this, and this is parallel. These lines here, technically, this starts there where you have the curve. So where that point meets in a tangential position, you want to be drawing back and across to kind of show that, to help the user understand what's going on. Again, you may have a little bit in terms of where it meets at the back. You might want to show that just for the eye, but it's quite hard to tell. Then we're going to go across where those meet, and we're going to go back there like so. So those R's are joined. Doesn't look great actually, it's a bit annoying. Maybe we should have put a gap in there. Can we see this line coming down? It's pretty marginal, but we'll tuck one in just to kind of give a bit of separation. And then finally the M, okay? So the bottom part's got two bits that are going to be equal. So if we give them something like that, the top part, again, two bits that are pretty equal. So if we go somewhere like this, these are going to go vertically up. So that's that bit on the M there. Same on the other side, vertically up to the same height. Remember, on the angle, it needs to go up the same distance. We're then going to find a little point, so about there, in the middle of these two, and we're going to drop the line down, and we're going to drop a line down here. So that was completely random, that point. I decided that I'm going to go halfway between the two at a random distance down. Same on the top, there's going to be a point, so between the two, probably vertically above this to make sure it looks good. Let's go there. That point goes down, and this point comes across. We're going to get this vertical line on the side. That's this vertical line. This line that goes back in that direction, and it drops down behind. So where we met that back face, it's dropping down. There's also a bit there that it drops down. And then across the top, we need to think about dropping down as well. So this line, because of where it meets, is going to go back to that back face. Same with this one here, back to this back face. And the same with this one here, like so. And then we're going to go across and across like this. Now from there, we want to make sure that this line at the back is parallel to this because of our angles. So we keep that like so, and now we can see what's going on. Finally, close this one off. Draw this across. That's only going to go to the back face. You can see where that back face goes. It's only going to go, just make sure it's parallel, over to that back face like that. That looks pretty good. It hasn't quite met, which doesn't really help with the eye, but it's absolutely fine. We can see this bit here, so that's going to be parallel to see that underside, and that's pretty much everything we would see. Now that's quite complicated. There's lots to think about there. Making sure your first initial isometric cuboid is good is really, really important. Making sure that all of your vertical lines are parallel. So there's quite a few vertical lines in here. I won't do them all, but kind of the main ones, we've got those there. Things going off to the right. So all of these lines that go off to the right, yeah, there's quite a few of them. Again, I won't do all of them. Making sure that all of these are parallel to each other is going to really help with other aspects of the design. Okay, so these ones in here as well. And then obviously off to the left as well, keeping these parallel. The better you do this, the better your isometric sketches will look. Got those there in the back. And then obviously you can see we've got some angles, okay? Now to get those angles, we just need to make sure that any vertical lines, like these vertical lines, And these horizontal lines are accurate, so we can just match up those angles when the time comes. So that is some initials. Have a go at your own initials, see how you get on. It's quite complicated. Take your time, think about where the lines are going, and you should be absolutely fine.